Ready.
Oi, welcome to the PewMongous podcast. This is Tactical Doc. Tactical Doc with a tactical scarf. Welcome.
I think that's how we need to start the show every single time now.
Actually, that would be pretty cool. This is actually a Geisley Shagram or whatever they're called.
You actually have a Geisley little admin results wannabe balaclava.
Yes, this is a real Geisley balaclava. Shagram balaclava.
I don't even know what they're called. I used to just call them.
We can't call them what I just called them.
Yeah, no, we can't say that. I actually always called them balaclavas because I'm uncultured swine. All right, we're live on this side. Welcome to the PewMongous podcast. We have a exciting episode tonight. I see Kurt24 in the chat out there. What's going on, my brother? Hope you're doing well. Remember, guys, this is a 20-second delay. We're gonna be switching back and forth from mine and Dark's stream to make sure we get all the questions. We skipped last week because I forget what it was. I think it was Memorial Day, and we had some family stuff going on. You obviously had some family stuff going on. Chrissy just left that Sunday. I was on my ride home, and you were like, "Yeah, dude, I got some stuff going on," and I'm like, "It's all good. Don't worry about it. Enjoy the weekend." But we are back. We got a very interesting gun we're going to be talking about tonight. But for starters, if you've never seen this show before, you know who I am or my adoring co-host is, my brother from another mother. My name is Joe. I'm from Shooting Gallery over on YouTube and all the other interwebs. Do gunsmithing. We run the Shooting Woods podcast. And I also have Dark, that's you.
Oh, you were pointing the other way. I was like, what's he got? It's DLD After Dark. You can find me on YouTube and also on Rumble. It's me, Dark, with DLD After Dark.
In DLD Hardware, where you can get all your jigs and Palmer 80 needs. Check out DLD Hardware.
And hopefully in the near future, in the next year or so, maybe even frames and jigs too, depending on how the whole Supreme Court thing goes. So
I thought that got taken care of again.
No, it's been constant back and forth, and currently it is not permitted to sell them as a company, like an individual. You know, in certain states, whatever, y'all can do what you want to do. You can buy, sell, trade, but a company, they consider that engaging in the business of firearms without a license. So we'll be waiting till the Supreme Court. Hopefully it rules in our favor, but I already have an idea on what they're going to do. Who knows? They may not, but we'll see.
We still have to do like a stream. It doesn't have to be on the PewMongous podcast, but we have to do a stream of like your not conspiracy theories, but your kind of like out there theories on stuff like in the gun world and just almost conspiracy theories, because you've dropped a couple bombs that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna dive into that a little bit more because like my mind's like, I am so interested in what you just said, but we can't really go deep in diving into that.
Yeah. Depends on what platform we're on. I've said some crazy things on Rumble, so I'm like, all right, if we're good, we're good.
That's why we love to be on Rumble, guys. Look at that. I'm holding the PSA dagger. This is pretty much my carry gun right now. I love it. Strap check. Obviously, I got my dagger. You got the Glock 48.
43X.
43X. Sorry.
Yeah, with the Streamlight TLR7 and that 20+1. That's my baby. But you know what I got behind me right there, right?
The Gazelle.
The Giselle.
It's just such a beautiful gun.
The Giselle Super Duty.
With the matching 30 millimeter green. What the hell? It looks like Man Against the Masses has just sent us a photo.
Already?
Yeah. What did he do? Man Against the Masses out there, thank you so much. But I'm checking this right now. We haven't even gotten.
I was telling Joe before, I was like, dude, I look like a cappuccino drink sucking Starbucks drinking mofo wearing this this scarf.
You do. You look like you belong in a. So that's the lovely meme The Man Against the Masses has done.
Dark's Truth podcast. Is that what it says?
Yeah, then look what it says below.
Joe checks Dark's prostate. Excellent.
Excellent. Thank you, Man Against the Masses. Appreciate it. All right,
Madam is the resident meme artist. That's what he does.
Yeah. So, all right, as we just kind of rambled on for the first 5 minutes, and let's get into the show. I love that gun.
Just had to show it real quick.
That battle worn glowy blue is just dead sexy,
isn't it fun with the Twizzler?
Yeah, it's beautiful. So tonight we are talking about kind of an industry gun when you look at the grand scheme of polymer frame pistols, and it's actually not. Well, it is a Glock clone. We're going to get into that indirectly, and they got caught. But yeah, the Smith and Wesson Sigma. For those who don't know, the Sigma was like pre M&P Smith and Wesson.
Mm-hmm.
This gun came out because at the time they just came out with the 40 Smith and Wesson in the 80s. Glock then realized, okay, it's a caliber. So they converted, I think, a 17 to take a 20 to make it a 22 and upscaled it. So Glock stole a FBI contract from Smith & Wesson because they came out with the 40-06. So Smith & Wesson was pissed because Glock was just shattering the U.S. market, or just the gun market in general, because they were getting military contracts or police contracts. Civilians were just adapting to the Glock. And Smith & Wesson was like, hold on, what do you mean you don't want a 40-06? You don't want a fucking 10-pound handgun? Oh.
Yeah. And they beat them to market with their new cartridge. They developed that cartridge, and Glock was like, okay, hold my beer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't learn that until today, that it was Glock literally beat them with their own cartridge. Yep. So then Smith & Wesson decided to come out with the Smith & Wesson Sigma. The Smith & Wesson Sigma, we're going to get into it later on, but I always like to go over specs and kind of like the general idea of what this gun was. There's many variations of the Smith & Wesson Sigma. It was designed in between 1993 and 1994. It is a striker-fired polymer frame pistol. They produced this current generation between 1994 and 2012. The variants include, but are not limited to, the SW40F, SW9F, SW40C, SW9C, and there's so many variants. They even had a 357 Sig variant, which I was surprised to hear that. It weighed about 26 ounces overall, unloaded. The barrel length was 4.5 inches. Let's see, and it chambered 40, 9mm, and 357. And they're saying the Smith & Wesson 380M was also considered a variant of the Sigma, but I'm not going to touch that one because I could do a whole episode of how bad that effing gun was.
The worst firearm, literally in the world, the worst firearm.
It makes the Bodyguard 380 look like, a Walther PPK.
Yeah, it's a joke. That literally the magazine release was a part of the actual magazine, and you pinched both sides. It was terrible. It was quite possibly the worst handgun ever made, but they still wanted to call it a Sigma for some reason. I think they were doing that on purpose. I have a whole theory about this, and it involves corporate espionage and the lawsuit. Like
we're gonna get into that later on, because now I really want to kind of like poke and prod you and be like, all right, I need to hear this. So the magazine capacity, depending on what model you got, they had 10-round magazines for restricted states. It took either between a 14 or a 16-round mag, depending if you got a compact or a full size. They came with standard 3-dot nights, 3-dot sights. Sometimes you get them with night sights. The trigger pull, It was god awful. We're gonna get into that as well. But
Yeah.
those were the standard specs. Sometimes you got them all black. Sometimes you got them a black frame with a silver, like a stainless slide, or there was a couple variants of a blue or green frame, which I think is kind of interesting.
Dude, they
Uh,
did a like a gray and
yep.
stainless color. That was fire. That thing was dope.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So at a first glance, you get a gun that is pretty much made to be like the ultimate do-all gun, and the MSRP for these guns when they first came out were like $250.
Yeah.
Okay, $250. That's less than what this dagger is now on
Hmm.
like a Blem dagger is about 270.
Yeah, and at the time they were selling for like 199. Like I in preparation for this, I watched one of Hop's shout out to Hop and TFB TV. Watched one of Hop's videos, and he bought his Sigma, an original OG Sigma, for 189 new.
Damn,
Yeah. Yeah. Because the MSRP
189.
is, like the roof, that's the ceiling. So it's an interesting firearm, man, and all the fuckery that came about
A
was
boot.
interesting.
He first came out with like a spot on like Australian accent. Like I was
Oi,
like,
it's
speak.
tactical, Doc. Tactical.
speaking of Australians, I see Chrissy Trotel is out in the chat. What is up, honey? She says I'm super late, but sorry. Finally reheating dinner to enjoy my favorite podcast.
Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Good day.
All I can think of is Steve Irwin like outside the waistband carrying like a desert eagle and be like, Crocky, bam.
Check out this magnificent stingray.
So bad. So bad.
So good.
Man Against the Masses is out there. Is there any what glowies do we have in your side of the
We
chat
got
there, bud?
50 people in chat. We got Black Diamond Guns of Gear, John Crump, Fat Gray Man. Let's see. We got Flying Rich. What's up, brother? Flying Rich went out to the Mar-a-Lago Trump rally today. That was awesome to watch till I fell asleep. Sorry, no shade. And then let's see. My bad. Someone's calling me. We got Diane. Let me see who else. We had a bunch of mofos. Obviously, we got Kurt and we got all the homies. Great to see you guys, man. And if anyone is out there and you know Black Diamond Guns of Gear, then you better know Fat Tech. Okay,
Yeah.
so go to the website, check out Fat Tech.
Yeah, check out fattat.com. You can get shooting gallery merch over there. You can get the new logo. You can get the tactical Manny shirt. I'm still waiting on my shirts. Just waiting on the mail. But we now have all our merch exclusively over there.
Yeah, I got it, man. I told him the other day I was gonna finally do everything, and I hadn't. I'm sorry, bro. But good news, my dad is doing better, and we can talk about that later. But
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I was going to say I didn't want to bring it up at the beginning of the show.
no, you're good.
But when you really think about it, at the time that this gun came out, you got to think they were looking for 1994. That was Clinton assault weapons ban.
Yep, 94 to 04.
All right. During that time, there were a few stinkers that came out. All right. The firearms industry was not the best. You couldn't get certain guns. You couldn't have certain magazines. If they did, they were super expensive. They released, I'd say, coming around 2002, 2004, and then kind of swooping in. They tried to literally go after the market with they wanted the Glock 19 market, and for Smith and Wesson to come in under a Glock 19 in MSRP for 250 or 189 on sale and stuff like that. That attempt was I would have to say very bold, kind of what the PSA Dagger did to the market.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was done intentionally, and I think if we look back at that time, I mean, almost quite literally from 94 to 04, you could go back as far as 88 and say, okay, from 88 to 94, there was likely some corporate espionage and some things going on with like how, excuse me, how was Glock the first to the market with a cartridge that Smith and Wesson had just developed to be the new intermediary cartridge between 9mm and 45 ACP, because ballistics were not improving at the speed that in most other cases, like 9mm was failing in a lot of cases. A lot of agencies had gone from 357 to 38 and then to 9mm. There was the famous 1986, maybe 80, was it 80? Somebody
86.
86, yeah, the Miami FBI shootout,
Yep.
where 9mm proved to be mostly ineffective. Really, honestly, if you go back and look, it was a tactics problem. It wasn't necessarily a ballistic problem. But when you can blame a bullet instead of your agents, it's always a better day. So anyway, so Glock came out and said, "Hey, we're going to take this cartridge." However, they got the information, however they ended up with it, they ran the first 40 caliber market to production, which is the Glock 22. And they did make some flaws with that. I know we're not here to talk about the Glock, but I'm just saying that's what happened. Then later on, they came out with the Glock 23, which is essentially the 17 and 19 variants in 40 cal. And I think Smith and Wesson took that as a jab, so they said, "Okay, we'll jab right back. We're going to virtually." It's not as bad as a lot of people say it is. At first glance, it looks pretty bad. Do you want me to pull up the picture of it being side by side blown up
Yeah, yes,
apart?
pull that up. And now this is what I have heard over the years working in the industry. And I've talked to, I'm actually going to show, oh, sweet. You got it on the computer. Oh, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
That is beautiful. So, guys, this is the blown up version for those that are not just listening this as a ride along. This is a blown up version of a Smith and Wesson Sigma and a Glock. When you
Yep.
really look at it, it's the same effing thing. Okay.
There are some pretty significant differences with like the shark fin on the trigger bar and the actual sear itself. So it's a little different, but very similar. And the interesting thing is that when this lawsuit was settled, it was never truly reported unless somebody has some inside information. It was settled for, reported as roughly $5 to $8 million. So no royalties, no Glock got paid for every Sigma that went out.
I heard there was a royalty that every Sigma that went out, because I used to listen to Iraq Veteran back in the day when we worked at Mouse Pawn and Gun, and they talked about the Sigma a lot in budget guns. And I want to
Hmm.
say there was a royalty that Smith and Wesson had to pay Glock, like I think it was like $25 every time a Sigma was sold.
So a lot of people had said that, but from what I have here, I'm not saying it's definitely right because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure other information has come out. While no one in an official position is willing to say how much Smith and Wesson will pay Glock, informed sources put the figure between $5 and $8 million with no royalties. So who knows?
Yeah, and at that time, it's so long ago that at that point they probably tried to keep it hush hush, because my understanding of it and what I heard from Smith and Wesson reps that are like kind of cool now. Like if you guys ever go to a gun shop, get to talk to a Smith and Wesson rep, they're actually like super cool.
Mhm.
They're gun people. They're not just like desk jockeys that don't leave the office at all. They like actually touch grass once or twice a week, you know.
Nice.
Um, but pretty much they took a Glock 17 in a marketing meeting back in the day, and they said we need to figure out how to fix this, and they put a Glock 17 on the table, and they're like, and the engineers were like, okay, and how we got the Sigma. That's again, I can't confirm that, but that's what the rep said that he heard from one of his friends. So again, you stretch the story as far as you can until the elastic breaks.
Who knows? Maybe one day if somebody actually detail strips their Sigma or puts enough rounds through their Sigma to even need to detail strip it, maybe they'll punch off a clamshell that's literally just around a Glock, right? You never know. The interesting thing though is that the lawsuit that was settled was actually settled for the one part that is least like the Glock. It's for the sear,
Yeah.
which is actually a machined piece of metal instead of a stamped piece. It's so the cruciform is what drops the sear on a Glock, right? Which we know as the the rear piece at the top of the trigger housing in a Glock frame. The sear in the Sigma is actually a pretty thick machined piece of steel, so it's weird. Definitely some effery going on there, but it's pretty bad.
But then that's the thing too is they're not going. Glock was going after Smith and Wesson for patent infringement on the Gen 3 patent.
Mm-hmm.
And from all my research, patent laws are really hard to kind of go in.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to navigate through from what my understanding was from my research I did today. But I still think Smith and Wesson doing the Sigma, they had all these variants, and and I'm not downplaying the SD9 VE or the SD40 VE. That is still considered a Sigma. That is a Smith and Wesson Sigma.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like a generation 2 or something like that.
yeah,
They had to do that, I think, down the road because of the Glock lawsuit.
yeah. Do
But
you know, fun little side note, do you know what VE stands for?
no.
I found this out. This is the funny part. So everything around the Sigma is about value, right? Like how cheap can I get something that mostly goes bang? So the VE stands for value enhanced.
Value enhanced, and they still couldn't get a decent trigger out of it.
Yeah, meaning cheaply made, basically.
It was all plastic. Like
Yeah.
it was just it was. So I, being a gunsmith for about 5 years, working in shops, I used to get these guns all the fucking time. All right, like I will give it to Smith and Wesson again. And I'm just saying, and right, it already probably sounds like I'm like a very proponent of this gun. It depends on the day with me. Like it's okay. It's like it's not like exciting. There's other guns of that caliber that I'm like, well, I like that better. But I actually had an SD9. Actually, first handgun I ever had was an SD40 VE.
Mm,
No Apex trigger because I didn't understand what Apex was.
mhm.
And I traded a Mossberg 715T for the 40 cal.
Isn't that the 22?
Yeah, the biggest piece of crap Mossberg has ever made. In my
Oh,
opinion.
that's the gay R15 one.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, the gay R15, exactly.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, big time. So I traded that to the kid, and he was like, "Oh, I got this handgun." I'm like, "Oh, I'd love to have a handgun,"
Yeah.
and I bought a 40.
I mean, it's of course, it's a good if you do not have a handgun and you're not like getting into the rabbit hole like most of us have. I mean, if you're just gonna buy a handgun and you're not gonna use it for like cool guy stuff or like to throw in your safari land if it's just gonna be chilling around your house, maybe in your waistband, maybe in your car, like obviously you should carry on body all the time, but I mean, it's a decent gun that's most likely going to work, and
Most like so. In my defense, the gun
had
after
zero
like
problems.
after like 4 mags, it would just jam like stovepipe.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You know what they did keep, and this is the craziest thing, what they did keep from the Sigma line all the way to current day, can you guess what they kept?
The stippling.
The witness hole at the top of the gay slide. I'm sorry, the
Oh.
slide. They still same style, same diameter, same everything. It's like, you know, y it's just so much, man. It's like those loaded chamber indicators that, you
Yeah,
have, like,
oh,
the
yeah.
flat side and it's like,
Yeah.
"Brr," you're like, "Bro, that's a little offensive."
Excessive. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
offensive. Yeah.
it's just too
I
much.
I like the gun. I never did an Apex trigger on mine. I will say it's the biggest pain in the ass to install the Apex trigger on that particular gun because It involves hand filing the return the rear of the trigger. I want to call it the
return spring thing.
the return spring. I had to on the trigger blade itself. If you want to get the flat face trigger or
Yeah,
the not better apex trigger, you got
that's
to take a
that's
file in there and file that down. That
mm,
was a pain in the ass. And then
yeah.
getting those out, you would think, oh, it comes apart like a Glock. No, it does not. Yeah, it's similar to a Glock parts. Once you get that out, no, it's the biggest pain in the ass in the world.
That's interesting because if you're sitting there dry firing a Sigma and rack the slide click, rack the slide click, rack the slide click, and then you go click 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 click, it won't obviously reset the striker every single time because it's a striker fired, right? So similar to like a single, the idea of a single action, you have to cock it to
Yeah,
to drop the hammer. Um, but the trigger still returns, unlike a Glock, because one of the differences in the Sigma and the SWVE and the SD and all those the line that came from it is a return spring on the trigger. Even though the striker wouldn't be engaged, the trigger always comes back. Similar to actually the Glock performance triggers for the
yeah.
Gen 5s that have come out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. That was my biggest gripe with it is that the trigger was just god awful. It had like a 12-pound trigger pull,
Yeah,
and with all these variations, you couldn't get it down to like 6.
just
Like
something reasonable.
something reasonable. And for newer shooters, they're like, oh, well, this gun is inaccurate. Well, it's not really inaccurate. It's just the trigger hole is very heavy, so it's going to probably you're going to make you pull the gun to the left or right, sometimes even up
Yeah,
or down, and you're always going to be off because you're anticipating the recoil because the trigger pull is just so goddamn heavy.
yeah.
I shot it very, relatively accurate. It was literally the first handgun I ever bought, and um, what did I do? I sold that, and then I bought a P85.
Nice, nice. P85s are good guns.
Yeah, and I found a company that will make a threaded barrel for a suppressor
For an old Ruger?
for a Ruger P85.
Nice.
Yes, so I will. That I have 2 projects I'm going to tell you after because I'm super psyched about it. One I haven't got all the stuff in yet, so I don't really want to make it public. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the things I got to do. I'm going to send the P85 slot. I'm just going to take the whole upper, send it to him, and be like, and I'm going to once I find a piston for my effing Silencer Co. Osprey 2.0 because I can't find a fucking piston anywhere because Silencer Co. is too dumb, and I don't want to get down that rant again. But I'm just gonna send him the piston and be like, "That's the piston I'm using. Figure it out."
I
Well, not
mean,
figure it out, but like hook me up.
the whatever if it's half by 28, you should be able to find excuse me, you should be able to find a piston in half by 28. You can't find like the whole system, you can't find it, or just the threaded portion. Like the
The
whole booster.
Yeah, the whole booster. I found one on Silencer Central for like $90, but then I'm looking in the back. I'm like, how do I attach because the piston's like that and the hole's like that. So I'm like, is there like an end cap I still got to screw in? I don't know.
So it's a whole unit, and then there's an extra piston that goes in, and then you can change out the piston to half by 28, 13.5 by half, 13.5 by 1 left hand thread, but it should be a whole unit that threads in,
Yeah.
because it's got to have the spring. It's so crazy. It's like it's a booster, a piston, a Nielsen device. They give it all these names. It's like, why can't we just have one name for it? It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts. But anyway, so the Sigma, that was my biggest complaint. And as a gunsmith, I did have to do that Apex job quite frequently. A lot of people did they buy that gun and then you can get the Apex flat face trigger kit where it came with like upgraded springs and the flat face or like their version of the flat face trigger for like $80. So for under 350, you get a halfway decent handgun. The sights I never had any issue with. So I
Yeah.
think accessory wise, the gun was okay. Like again, it was it got you in the game. And I think nowadays with
Yeah.
all these different variants of Gen 3 clones, or even just with nowadays technology, the Smith and Wesson Sigma was kind of the start to that. Like again, Sigma was my first carry gun. And you know what I carried it in?
An Uncle Mike's holster.
100% an Uncle Mike's holster.
Oh, I totally was hoping you were going to say no, but
And then I upgraded to an in the waistband Serpa.
okay.
I know. Okay. I didn't know any better. I was completely new. And the guy at the gun store was like, "You should totally get this Serpa holster. This thing is awesome."
That's how they do it. The dudes at the gun store are like, "Tell me what to sell. Tell me what I'll make most money on."
Yep. So yeah, for those out there, that's probably going to infuriate our comment section. Is, oh my god, Joe, we're literally carried a Serpa holster. Oh my god.
We all did it. I still have them. I still have a few Serpas.
I know this one firearms trainer. His name's Ben DeWalt with on-site firearms training. He just did a great podcast with Big Tex Outdoors, or Big Tex Ordnance, whatever the hell it's called. I've actually trained with him. He was the first firearms instructor that I actually took a class with. Great guy. He has on his website, you will be turned away if you come to class with a Uncle Mike's Serpa alien gear, anything like it's good. He wants good quality holsters for these classes.
So there's been a lot of safety issues with Serpas. A lot of people because and I think the more people train, the more they realize that they can't be tards. I'll say that because I know this will eventually end up on YouTube. But to not be tards. So don't draw from your Serpa with like the max force of your index finger on the rig, because then potentially people's fingers could be flung into the trigger area, which could be, so some people say that they cause negligent discharges, but I mean just the idea that a pebble could literally make your system completely inoperable. A pebble, a large enough or small enough, the right size stone could literally lock your gun into that holster forever. Like there's no getting it out. Like that's it. Period. Unless you have a Dremel and an hour and a half, you're not getting that thing out. So it definitely is not the way to go.
Yeah, I know.
And if you're training, Safariland is like the only way to go. I know Alien Gear has these cool things with tourniquets in it and stuff like that. Yeah, cool. Safariland, put tourniquets on your belt. Come on.
Exactly. But that was one thing I've always seen working in gun counters is you couldn't find a decent holster for a Sigma, even if it was an SD9VE. They say, oh, a Glock 19 holster can work on it. No, it doesn't.
They say the M&P Serpas, like the plastic outside the waistband holsters holsters worked on them, but those were kind of getting like phased out around that time. Like a lot of people were kind of getting away from them.
Well, remember I don't know if when you worked at the gun store you saw these. They would actually come. I don't know if they still did, but some of them I saw, they came with a holster that it came with a plug in the front of the barrel. So you say you loaded a live round, you put a plug at the end of the hot barrel, and then it came with a clip to clip in, and that was your holster.
I'm sorry, what? And this was specifically for the Sigma?
I believe that's what it came with. I'm actually if I can get
from the factory.
I think I'm gonna go. I'm almost positive. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. But have you seen those holsters where it's literally just like a plastic dowel on the end of like some Kydex clip that holds that kind of covers the trigger. So
yeah, I have seen the ones that you kind of fasten in where it's like Kydex that just covers the trigger guard. And then, there's a bunch of different systems that are similar to it. And then when you draw the gun out, whatever method you're carrying it, if it's a clip draw, if it's, whatever part of the system that has the, Kydex around the trigger guard, that it comes off as you're drawing it, it pops off, and then you present, and do your thing. And then, if you're using something like a Shooter's Global shot timer that'll get your shots. I'm just kidding. But no, for real though, shout out to Drew. My guy sent me this, and bro, oh, this is the coolest thing. It's coolest thing ever. Love it. But anyway,
I can't find it. If I find one, I'm gonna send you a picture because it used to come with it, but I don't know. But now I'm looking. All I typed in was like Sigma, Smith and Wesson Sigma barrel factory holster. You know what comes up for every single one of them? Serpas. Every single one of them.
okay, I was gonna say Uncle Mike's.
Yeah. Well, there's Uncle Mike's there too. But that's the thing. The Sigma did that though. It kind of started the revolution of finding a good quality holster, concealed carrying, where people were starting to figure it out. And the Sigma, I feel, is that gun that a lot of people got to where they realized, okay, I don't like that. So, like, at one point, the Smith and Wesson Sigma was the most popular Smith and Wesson found in police evidence lockers because it was a $250 gun. It was the high point of Smith and Wesson. It was the C9 of Smith and Wesson.
It definitely did something to the industry, and this is like when you look at each gun that we talk about, we always talk about like what was the impact on the industry. I think when you look at what happened at that time, most Glocks were like $499, right?
Yeah.
They were, you're looking at $500, right? Berettas $600-700, Sigs, that everything was.
Sig didn't even have the P250 out yet. It was still the classic series. So 226 was around $700-800.
Yeah, they almost all reputable, reliable firearms that were like tried and true were expensive, right? And of course, you had Kimber 1911s, you had the HKs, the HK USPs, which
they didn't have the VP9s, and USPs are horrible.
Everything was see, I like the USP for like nostalgic reasons.
I'm not. I've tried to get into them. I've shot them with the LEM triggers. I despise the LEM triggers.
The LEM is the most backwards, stupid, ridiculous shit I've ever seen a company conjure up. It doesn't even make sense.
But you go ahead.
But so what they did for the industry was you had all these guns that were $500 to $700, $800, and the others were $1,000 or more. I mean, they were expensive, right? So then you had Rugers falling at a much more reasonable price, but then no aftermarket support, no holsters, or very little aftermarket support. So to see Smith and Wesson, drop the Sigma, and then what the Sigma created, which is like the SD line, the VEs and all that. They did something because people started buying it, and everyone was like, dude, we want holsters, we want more magazines, we want aftermarket support. Then the aftermarket support started coming out for a $250 because the SDV 40s, SDV 9s or whatever, those were like $250-ish,
and then that gun, I feel like the Sigma kind of helped make companies like Apex who they are today, because Apex was the only one making triggers for them.
Yeah, because otherwise
everyone knew who Apex was. The second you say Sigma, everyone said, "Oh, did you get the Apex trigger?"
Yeah, it definitely had a big impact on the market because I feel like the aftermarket had to answer to the people and say, okay, we'll make you holsters, and then people could actually carry their $250 guns, and then that kind of shifted the market to be like, whoa, carry guns can cost less than $500,000, $700,000, $800,000, and you didn't see like police departments and police agencies taking on the Sigma line for their agency guns or whatever.
Actually worked. So funny story. I actually worked when I did armed security at the Registry of Motor Vehicles in the state of Massachusetts. Yes, I was a run-a-cop that carried a gun. It was the worst job. One of the worst jobs I could have ever done. Don't recommend it. Somebody I worked with carried a Sigma.
Wow. But it wasn't like issued. right? It was
No,
their
no,
gun.
it was not issued. That was her personal gun,
Okay.
and I saw it in her holster. I was like, what the fuck is that? And she's just
Yeah.
like, it like I
It's
said
my
it kind
Smith
of
and Wesson.
I said it kind of loudly, and this is when it was like the heart of COVID, and I literally said, "What the fuck is that?" And everyone like kind of looked at me, and she's like, "Dude, look where you're at." I'm like, "I'm sorry." I walked over. I was like, "Yo, what are you carrying?"
Yeah,
And
that
she's like, "Oh, I've this is the only gun I've ever had," and I'm like, "Do you shoot it?" And she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, like."
like,
I'm
can
I'm
you
out-
hit something?
I'm like breaking this down in my head, and she's like, "Oh, so you're like a gun nerd?" I'm like, "A little bit."
No, I just despise guns that don't work. No, I mean, again,
They work. They do
they
work.
work.
It's
They
just
work. It,
they're not the
the,
best choice.
yeah, the longevity piece. I mean, you basically end up with a Keltec P11 trigger that's 12 pounds in a full size duty gun. You know, it is. It's Yeah, I mean, you remember those shits? This
Yes.
shit was like literally the box said 10 to 12 pounds. Like when I bought the shit, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm RIP P11s, but like and PF9s apparently. Oh, and the P40s. Woo, those were fire. But
Walter Keller carries a P32.
nice. I'll carry a P3AT from time to time, depending on the situation. But it's I know I'm kind of busting on it, but like they did have a big impact on the industry,
They
and they
did.
started to make other companies say, "Oh shit, there's a $250 gun that's actually kind of making ripples in the industry," and whatever, $250 gun, and then the used ones that you could get for even less,
Yeah.
it's making ripples in the industry. People are wanting to carry them. People are requesting aftermarket support for holsters and lights and lasers. Even though if you have an original Sigma,
It didn't have a light rail.
it had a proprietary rail that you could
Oh
do
yeah.
nothing with.
Yeah, it was almost like what the first generation P365s had, that
Yeah.
SIG mounting system.
Yep.
Um, but I've seen pictures of people like cutting in Picatinny rails so they can put whatever on there. But
Yep.
The SD9 VEs,
Those
they
had pick
later were
rails.
those had pickers, and they even have they have a 2.0 now that I got the handle before I stopped working in shops, and that gun was pretty cool. The trigger wasn't god awful. Like it kind of
Yeah.
is like what should have been out when the gun was originally copied off clock. But here's another thing, Dark. This gun was the first Glock 19 Gen 3 copy,
Yeah.
because now that
Clonage.
the Gen 3 patent's been over with for how many years now? How many companies have come out with a Glock clone?
Oh, dude, it's
If it
been
wasn't for it wasn't for the Sigma, you wouldn't have the Dagger. And
probably.
that's facts. You wouldn't.
You at least wouldn't have had it yet, most likely. I don't know. The industry always moves either dead ass slow or lightning fast. It just depends on what the industry thinks the people want. But honestly, what the people want, are the majority of people, are things like daggers. They want guns that are $250 that they can put a $200 optic on and a sub $200 light on, and run it. And I'll drop my dagger in my kit and run it like my Gen 5s, with an RMR and all, and I'll run them pretty hard. And they're
They
it's
keep coming back.
yeah, it's
But
cool to
then
see what it's done.
look at the guns that came out, especially in that market. And I'm kind of going towards like all around range gun, concealed carry, home defense. I'm not really looking at like military police, government stuff.
Dude, even just the Ruger P95, bro.
Yeah,
That
the
that
Ruger
thing,
P95. Yeah, that was
yeah.
another one.
Or the P395, the single stack 45 that was,
Yes, that was the first
mostly
handgun I
orange.
ever. That was the first handgun I ever shot.
Nice. I almost got killed by one.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. That's an interesting story.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it was great. The safety was on, so yeah.
Thank God
Shout,
for that safety.
shout out
Oh,
to, and I used to make fun of my boy for keeping his safety on, and this dumb chick was like, "Can I see your gun?" And he was like, "Sure." And I was like, "Oh my god." And she literally is like, "Cool," turns it to me, and I see her finger go yeet, yeet, and it was pointing right at my stomach. I was like, "No." And nothing happened. And I was like, "Thank you for not listening to me about the safety." You know? Because I'm like, "Bro,
uh,
why do you keep the safety on?" You know? Anyway, sorry.
yeet.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Never
but
hand your gun loaded, especially to an idiot or somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, without telling them the condition, or,
exactly.
y'all know. I don't need to tell y'all.
Make them aware of the condition of the firearm before you even hand it off.
And honestly,
Um,
I don't care if you are a literal professional competition shooter. I'm not giving you a hot gun. I'm not disarming myself and giving you a hot gun right in front of me. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
yeah. Um, but this what I'm trying to get to is the Sigma came in the 250 price range. When they released the first generation M&P, those only came out at like 450, 475.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that was the start of getting people to be able to buy firearms that were affordable.
Mhm.
So the M&P kind of came out at the like 475. If you got like the tricked out like range gun, it'd be like 520 or something like that. So
Well,
it's
and
kind
that's
of
been like standard Glocks,
yeah,
were starting to
standard
move
Glocks.
up to like 5.25,
Yeah,
549. So like they were still beating Glock's price. They definitely have a smoother, crisper, more crisp trigger than a factory 5.5 pound Glock. So the M&P was a good move, which obviously came from
the
the
Sigma.
Sigma, you know.
They wanted a striker. They realized Smith and Wesson realized the striker fire market was kind of the where people
Yeah,
wanted because
yeah.
everyone loved the Glock so much, and
Hmm.
there wasn't that many striker fires on the market. There was only this, from what I understand, at the time that I got into guns, Ruger was just coming out with the SR9, the SR40 series,
Yeah,
SR45,
yeah.
which I'm still on the search for getting an SR. I try to have like every generation of Ruger just because I'm a Ruger buff. So I got the P85. I did sell my Security 9, which I'll probably end up buying a full size Security 9 down the road because I really like that gun.
Mm.
But when I got into guns, it was M&Ps, SRs, Glocks. Granted, I couldn't have Glocks in Massachusetts, and then XDs. There was no 320s. There was no um, daggers. There was no any, or it was like a 1911 or something like that. There was nothing.
Well, and there were other companies coming out with, inexpensive but modern and kinda upgraded, updated 1911s too.
Yeah, the
But even
Paras.
those,
Yeah,
yeah,
The
Para
Para
Ordnance.
made a Para Ordnance made a striker fired 1911.
Yeah,
Was it the? I think it was the Warthog.
the
I think it was.
Warthog, the 10+1 11 round officer size
Yeah.
45 ACP.
Yep.
And then also, like, even Taurus, went with
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
a classic, but they were like 5 and a quarter, 550 for, a 1911 with a pick rail and a 8+1 capacity. It's decent for what it is. And like you got, it impacted the industry, right? So like the what was the other one you said? Security 9. What was
No,
the
the the SR9
SR9? The SR9s, I would say those likely came out because of the impact on the industry that
from the
may have,
Sigma. Yeah.
yeah, may have dated back to the Sigma. So the SR9, wasn't there, I'm
There was.
trying to
I want
think.
to say the XDs came out with that kind. I mean, the XDs have a grip safety, and it's kind of a striker assembly. I'd call it a striker fire gun. Um,
Yeah, it's a little different. They were priced a little more. I could never imagine why people pay. I knew a dude that literally bought two subcompact Smith and Wesson XD40s, and he actually became a federal agent. Gay, but
oh, so like Smash Time, who carries a XD.
Does he actually carry an XD?
Yeah, he carries an optics ready XT, and I give him so much shit for it. I
Oh,
love if you're
dude,
out there, Smash Time. I love you. I talked to him today, and
I couldn't
but
imagine.
yeah, I give him so much shit. I saw it one time when we went on our lunch date. I was in Houston, and me and him went on a date. And
That's pretty good.
I kind of like look over for a second. I came in from the bathroom. I'm like, are you still carrying that fucking XD? He's like, yeah, man. Like, what are you talking about? I love Springfield. And I'm like, gay?
Yeah, dude, I can't rock with Springfield, man. I
I
can't.
can't.
Yeah, it's
The
just
only gun
it's
they
weird.
make that I would ever consider trying, and I will never support Springfield because they're so for the shit they pulled in Illinois, which is a direct effect of what they're actually dealing with in Illinois to this day, is their Emissary 1911. It's the only one I would consider buying.
One of my viewers has one, and he all the time is Morningstar. He always talks about the emissary, and it's just one of his crown jewels. But bro, although I despise Springfield, and I really think that they just suck at everything, they're very good at white labeling shit and saying they
Oh
made it.
yeah,
But the I still just am absolutely in love with the Springfield brushed chrome mil spec 1911. That
I get
thing
it.
is
Yeah.
just gorgeous, man. It's just every time you see it, it's just like, damn. Obviously, completely separate from what we're talking about here, but I don't know what other polymer striker fire, inexpensive or high value, or as the VE line calls it, value
Because I don't,
enhanced.
yeah, I don't even think that the VP, like when I got into handguns, it was like 2013, 2014.
Damn.
I think maybe the VP9 came out and everyone was like, "This is the greatest fucking thing in the world." And I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't know.
VP9's a dope gun, but like,
It is. They're laser accurate.
oh,
They're
they're so
awesome.
I would love to spend the money on one, but it's just I'm not paying $800 like minimum.
Y-
It's just
Yeah,
so
to get it how I want, because I do shoot that gun very, very well. I shot my brothers, and I was just like,
I shoot it
just
phenomenally.
yeah, yeah, especially with the very small, thin, flattest backstrap. That with an if you want that with an optic and decent sights from the factory, you're looking at 900 or $1,000. But then they had a new production USP 45 and flat dark earth next to it. Woo! Totally like Metal Gear Solid vibes right there,
Oh yeah,
bro. Yeah,
yep.
it's just a
Um,
pretty gun.
but yeah, going back to it, I think the Sigma, and if I ever was like, you know what, I'd like to have one just to like maybe down the road keep it in the car or in a lockbox in the car or something like that.
Bury it in your neighbor's backyard.
Yeah, the zombie apocalypse, I'd rock it, you know, if that's all I had.
I would use
It's
it
a
to get another
decent
gun.
gun. Yeah, exactly. It's a decent gun. Like
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, they were 100% stole the whole concept of the Glock internals and all that stuff. Like my brother took his Gen 3 Glock 23. He
Mhm.
literally is like, wait a second, let me see this. And we looked at it, and he took his Gen 3 Slide 23, put it on my SD40, and we racked it, and trigger went off.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I've heard of dudes for folks out there that are into the 3D printing community. The I don't know if there's a specific one, or I had heard that with very very light modification, you can take a Sigma slide and throw it on a Glock lower. I think you may need to modify something. I can't recall 100%, but I also heard that they actually make a 3D printed. There's a file out there. I think it's a 3D printed file for yeah, to throw a 3D to have a 3D printed frame, Glock lower parts kit with a Sigma slide on it. I think they call it like a Siglock or something like that. But I don't remember. But it's some kind of like marriage between the two.
Now, what? No, I just sidebar. You've been showing that frame, which I believe is a Strike Industries 3D printed frame.
Which one? The colored one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a 43X frame in Duramic white. I actually
I was gonna say, why haven't you built that gun out yet? Because you've literally been showing that frame off forever, and I'm
I
like,
did. I actually built it out, and then I printed the so this same frame I printed for a beta that some dudes were doing for the they wanted to do a strike frame that was actually licensed by Strike Industries,
yep,
which I don't know if people can see
yeah,
that, but it is licensed by Strike. Probably can't see it very well, but
I could see it, yeah.
yeah. So I printed this, assembled it. I didn't shoot it yet, but I assembled it, and then I got a spool of the Blood of My Enemies filament, which is that like very very. It's like the same color red if you were to cut into like an extremely rare steak, like translucent red, and I printed that, and I was like, "Oh hell no!" So I literally took the parts and I punched them out of this and threw them in that thing. But even that, like, so because I have so many effing frames, and because I want all of my guns to run 100%, and if I need to arm other people or for some specific reason use another gun, a smaller gun or whatever, if I need to tuck it and do whatever, if the world falls to shit, the 3D printed frames are dope and they're like highly inexpensive and they're cool. But if I got like all these like OEM frames sitting out here and all these, I'm gonna keep most of my shit in OEM format. But I still got a couple 3D printed guns assembled, just chilling. But you just can't beat the longevity of an OEM frame,
Yeah.
or a polymer 80 frame. Because if you, for anyone out there that's taking a 3D printed gun shooting, if you burn through 200 rounds like in one setting, you're gonna start to melt the frame. It's just the way that it is with PLA plus. If you have nylon, you can go much further than that. That's what they call it a life life frame, right? It's going to be there for the rest of your life. But there's a point, right, that even that would start to go probably in like the 800 6 to 800 round kind of, yeah, maybe 4 to 600 round kind of ballpark. But they're dope. But if you have the ability of throwing it on a frame that's going to last way longer, way longer, yeah, way longer, and actually be a little bit more effective and fit in holsters and stuff like that, yeah, I gotta throw it to that.
All right. I was just curious because I'm like, I like the design of that frame, that white strike frame that you had.
It's dope, and especially for the 43X, man, it is more comfortable than any other frame in existence. And shout out to Neutron Nick who cooked this thing up, man. Like and he did it with other dudes too. So shout out to them, and I think P80 Ralph helped as well. But yeah, I mean, put 200 rounds through it and it melts. So it's got some limitations. So I
Yeah.
I like to
I mean,
steer clear of
I
it.
would love to have Strike Industries on the podcast,
Yeah,
on the Shooting the Woods
me too.
podcast. Yeah,
Me
I
too.
would, but
Good
they
luck.
just, yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, yeah, they love to not go on podcasts.
Yeah, they're like, no, we don't want to do that at all.
Yeah, you want us to get business? No, thank you. You know?
Well, that's the thing, that I think their products sell themselves because
Yeah, yeah,
they're getting so heavy into the like chassis
yeah,
systems
yeah,
for Glocks and the 320 stuff. They that shit sells themselves, and plus their
right.
AR accessories. It's like they don't. That's a company that doesn't need to go on a podcast. Like
Yeah, yeah. They don't, absolutely not. No, and a lot of people look at the Strike Industries AR stuff and they're like, "Oh, that's a stupid company. It's just a bunch of like red anodized dumb AR Chinese stuff or whatever." Like, okay, for anyone out there, I get it if that's not your flavor, but if you take a minute to go through the rest of their stuff, if you look at their Glock stuff, oh my god. I mean, they just like
their
blew
CZ,
it out
yeah,
of the park, man.
their CZ stuff, their 320 stuff.
It's so innovative. Like,
Yeah,
it is so innovative. Their slides are remarkable, dude. They're incredible.
their Scorpion stuff that they make for the
Mhm.
CZ Scorpion.
Yep.
They were the only ones that came out with like an M lock rail that was like not shitty. and like it made everyone be like, oh, I want to, I want a Scorpion with a Strike Industries rail.
I got to do it.
Oh man,
How can you not love the Strike 80 frame with the Strike Industries slide, with the Strike Industries barrel, with the Strike Industries mag release, with the Strike Industries mag well, with the Strike pins? I mean, this thing is striked out, bro.
I'm
And
telling you right now, I still want to buy an SCT frame and send it to Arcane Tactical to get that exact stipple pattern because I love how he does his logo on the bottom.
yeah, the wing, that thing
Yeah,
is fire, man. Yeah, Arcane Tactical is incredible at what he does.
but at the same time, there is Liberty Bell Firearms as well, who is my stippler.
Yeah, for sure. I actually, dude, when I watched y'all do the show together, I was definitely impressed. And right now, I am actually looking for um, some like for a Cerakoter to be willing to have me say, so probably my 19X or one of my Gen 5 Glocks. I just want to take it and say, take this, do something absolutely absurd, but dope. Like,
Make it offensive. Just
yeah,
make it offensive.
just crazy but dope, right? Do whatever you want, whatever comes to your mind. If you want to do like 1980s neon lights and beach theme, like whatever, donuts and sprinkles, I don't care. Just do like gummy worms and gummy bears, just whatever you do, make it look fucking ridiculous. And I'll pay. I'm not looking. I think like JL Customs heard me talking about it. I think
I
he
mean,
thought I was
I can save you some money if you use Liberty Bell. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I heard that if you use code JoJuice, you get like 20% off your order.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, bro. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yo, if you want to holler at Liberty Bell and be like, yo, I mean, imagine how much my viewers would love that to be like, I am
Oh, the
taking,
glowies would be blowing up Liberty Bell left and right.
yeah, dude, yeah, and like to just say I'm giving you a gun, take it and do whatever the fuck you want to, and I'm giving you completely creative control, do something crazy and ridiculous and offensive, and then send it back to me, right?
So
Like that.
you're are you trying to like say hold my beer to John Patton with the Project Atrocious build where like every color is every part is a different color?
That actually would be kind of funny too, like fluorescent ridiculousness. Like I'm not opposed to that either, but also like I just want something so ridiculous, but like everything coded, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't want anything to be left uncoded. Like I want the optic coded, I want the light coded, I want people to be like, that's a goon beam, that's a goon beam pistol light. Like what? You
that's
know?
offensive.
Yes, yes, yeah. And you know what? Not everyone the guns can be like that, right? Like this is gorgeous, right? The Marconi, this was done by Arcane, the other Marconi was done by Arcane. Or you know what? The dagger. I'll send someone the dagger and be like, just G that shit up, dude.
I think I want to get this Cerakoted M81.
That would be
M80
dope.
M81, the Goon Beam, and the
The
Gideon.
Gideon. Bro,
Yeah.
you know what I just got? You ready to get jealous as fuck?
Oh God.
So when Geisley had their sale, one of my viewers, shout out to you, you know who you are, you're in chat right now.
Let's see who I got in chat on my end.
Yeah, and Kurt, I got you.
I see Zanty Misfit is over here. What is going on, Zanty? But yeah, so what you
So
got? A guys, you got. I know you got the Geisley scarf.
so I did. I got the Geisley scarf, but that was just like a few bucks, $6 or whatever. I bought a bunch of Geisley gear. Their shirts were $10. While they were doing this big sale, one of my viewers was like sharp enough to be like, "Oh, their gear's probably on sale too," and he sent me a link. Shout out to you, Kurt24. He sent me a link to their merch, and their shirts were $10, and they had this like puffy bomber jacket and M81 and not like too puffy. It's like a good look,
I'm
right?
thinking of like those like early 2000s like
Yeah, no, not like that.
Dipset puffy with the fur. Like that's all I'm thinking,
Yeah,
but it's just gonna
not
say guys with
way cooler,
automatics.
way cooler.
I still
This
have one of
is
those sweatshirts back home.
dang. Yeah, no, this is way cooler. It's a usable jacket, and it's all M81. It says Geisley Automatics, and then on the sleeve, it's got a massive hood, which is super dope. But on the sleeve, it's got patches, and it says Super Duty on one patch, and they're removable too, which is dope. And the other one says Have Bill call me, and it's like, dude, that's so fucking cool. And it was $30, and it's like a like fall jacket, rain jacket. Like it's so
It's like
dope.
a
And it's
whoopee.
yeah, and it's all M81 camo. It's so sick,
It's
dude.
gauze camo. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I got to get off my ass and fill the paperwork out to send the High Point out to get the Rhodesian baby poop
Mm, yeah, that'd
camo.
be dope. That'd be dope. Oh, you know what I
And
thought of doing? Whether it's Liberty Bell or whomever, I'm thinking of sending the 19X out and getting that thing OD green. All OD green. You're welcome.
you already have a 9. Don't you already have a 45 in OD green?
Well, yeah, but it's different. It's a
You
OD
so
green frame.
you want it to be an okay, so you want it to be an OD green everything 19X.
Yeah, so like the Gen 545, I just took the light off of this. So it's naked. Please don't make fun of her while she's in the nude. But she usually is rocking my Goon Beam. It's got
I like that port.
all yeah, the port's pretty cool. It's ridiculous though if you're like under night vision. The Battlefield green frame, which is dope, but then it's got the black multicam, and then there's three other mags that are green that match it, but the other mag is black multicam to match that, and it's got the Holosun SCS on it. That's what's currently on my pistol belt.
Nice. So as we're winding down at the top of the hour, the Smith and Wesson Sigma. What is your honest opinion on it? Do you think that okay, if you have one, you can like it's one of those that do you think it's one of those guns everybody has had at one point?
So I actually have not owned one,
Okay.
believe it or not. And so I know we usually do like the hot or not, or what we used another term one time, which was hilarious. Uh,
Is it a hit?
yeah, hit or shit.
Yeah, hit or
Um,
shit.
whatever we used last time. But man, you cannot beat it. Like for that time frame, you literally could not beat it.
No,
So I mean, if you got one, if if $150 is that important to you to sell it, then I feel you, right? You got to sell it, right? But if you can keep them, hang on to them, I'd say it's a win. If you got one, hang on to it.
I would say that too. I think it's something to keep in the collection down the road. Of say maybe you have a kid that it gets of age. Sorry. Oh dear Lord, it's getting that time of night where my body's like, "Go to bed, you old fuck."
Yeah, definitely.
But I think if say you have a son that's getting around, or a daughter that's getting around the age to carry, start them shooting on that to see if they even like the gun, and say, "How about this? This gun is yours until you decide you want to get a different one or trade it in. At least it's something to protect yourself."
Yeah,
Or again, just keeping it as like hey, it's a $250 gun. It's not gonna really do me any good. Like I'd say it's still a win.
yeah. Or even like if you have a buddy who's ever had a friend that like had a life event, like they had a break in
Yeah,
or they had
exactly.
something happen, and they're like, "Oh, I need a gun," and you're like, "I got you." Like that's the gun that you give to them, right? And then you Cerakote it hot pink so they know that they need to get their own gun because they're going to look really gay to everyone else. So they're certainly not going to show it off. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I just got an Amazon, a Chinese company that sells on Amazon that wants to send me a pistol safe. It's quite funny. We will send you the fee via PayPal after you send us the order number. You need to buy it first before before we send you it. If that's
What?
okay, I will send you the product link. Get fuck.
What the fuck?
Listen, China, I don't need you.
Fucking China.
Fucking
Yeah, but
China, man.
I say if you got one, keep it. I like to have like a little collection of sub $200 handguns,
Yeah, definitely.
and I got $100 Walther P22 in there. I got just the shitters, right? I got $100 Keltec P3AT in there, and you just start to stack up these guns that are like, yeah, they're shit, but I know at least that one mag in there is going to run through it if I need it.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's got problems after that because I'm just using it to get to another gun anyway.
exactly. I think that's why I still not carry, but I keep my LCP2 light rack and 22 LR.
Mm.
Mine works very well as long as I run mini mags through it. But everyone says those things run like shit, and I'm like, mine works fine. But I'm like, that's why I keep it, because I can just be like, bam, 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 bam. All right, I shot it for once for the year, and it ran everything for one mag. I'm good, you know.
My LCP, like a standard LCP, the first time it was taken out, it broke, and the extractor, plunger, and everything flew out of it viciously. And I hit up Ruger, and they actually were like, "Yep, no problem. We'll send you the parts," which is kind of rare for some
Yeah,
companies.
they don't. Yeah, Ruger does not send parts. They say send the gun in.
Yeah,
You have to
and
fight with them to get the parts.
yeah, they sent it. They covered shipping and all that. I put it back together and I put it in the safe, and I've literally never touched it other than to show people, did you know guns could get this small? That's it. But the Keltecs, those work.
Yeah, Keltec being in my hood, I need to. Well, not really in my hood. They're directly across the state. I should just like fucking try and figure something out. Do like a factory tour. Be like, dude, you're in Cocoa Beach. I'm in Sarasota. Like, let's do like some
Yeah.
type of video.
Bro, if I just need a P50, that's all I want.
That gun sucks, man.
Of
Fuck
course.
that gun.
Of course it does. That's why when it came out, it was $1,300, and then 3 months later, it was selling on PSA for like $589. Like,
dude, the pistols. Oh my god, the pistols right now. I think on PSA. I'm gonna check real quick before we get off the show because, dude, that thing literally was like MSRP for over $1,000, and like,
dude, they were pre-selling for 1309. I remember because I was like, I'm gonna do it. Because FN57s are crazy expensive, P90s are crazy expensive, but this, and then I was like, no, that's ridiculous. I can't do it. And then later on, Rich actually bought one for like 5 something.
Okay, so the P50 black that's the pistol out of stock, but you can get the R50, which is the rifle, for $797. You can get the P50 in flat dark earth for $699, and you can get it in OD green P50 $799.
Well, and it's not even on sale. I will say this: the flaw with that is their system is all based on gravity. When you open it up to change out the mags, if you lean down or lean it up, it literally comes and wham, it'll slam on your fingers. And why did they not put springs where you could, like, if it came down, it would like stop right there and like bounce, you know what I mean? Where you have to have spring tension to fight against to put. I'm like, dude, why did you? I don't know. Maybe they didn't have enough cocaine that night. I'm just
saying, and that is a good note to end on. Guys, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of PewMongous. I should be updating my PewMongous podcast on my channel. I have still to put the shotgun episode we put out last time, but the should be up to date now. This podcast will be going live on YouTube very soon. I got a couple videos I got to post out on my own, but yeah, we were planning on doing a 3D printed video soon, but I know we got to do so much. We have to do a lot of research for the FGC9 because we have to give credit to everybody that had a hand in that.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about Jay Stark created this, and also I think it was Navigo Boom or somebody else came out with the first version of that was basically slightly changed by Jay Stark. So not to take away anything from anyone, but I'll get the info.
We
on
could
that.
do that. We could do that. We could do Hoffman Tactical's AR lower, or we
The
could do
Orca. Yeah.
yeah, we can do the Orca. Actually be a really good. It's not like I know it's a lower, but still like there's a lot of design and like what it did because everyone I know a lot of people are starting to really pick up on Hoffman Tactical's lowers and kind of the fun stuff he's getting into.
I got an idea. I got an idea. It would be a blast to do the mac and cheese.
Yeah,
Taking
we can do the mac and
a
cheese.
Yeah, that you take a Mac 11, which is a completely outdated, nearly useless, massively large semi-auto, civilian legal semi-auto firearm, and you actually take it into a 3D printed chassis and make it a very, very usable, effective SMG style PDW. I think that's worth an episode there, I think.
I could do now. Who made the mac and cheese? Was that
That was Middleton made,
yes,
and everything he does is all
food related?
food. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I think that I'm not into I have my toe dip just to like, okay, they got cool designs. What is it? And I always thought it was somebody. I don't want to say who I thought came up with that gun because I know it would start like a war on 3D print
It
Twitter.
will. It'll be on Twitter like within 20 minutes. Trust
Oh
me.
yeah, yeah, no, and it will start like I would probably get thousands of followers of everyone just shitting on me overnight. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I'll tell you off air who I thought made it, and you're gonna be like, yeah, no, I'm glad you didn't say that on air in case anyone ever heard
Yeah.
it.
Well,
So
Middleton Made in 3D Arms came up with the apple pie, which I think the grip initially was the apple pie. This is what happens when you take PLA and accidentally print it on nylon settings, is it's as shiny as a mirror. So the apple pie is a pump action AR-15
yep,
with
yep,
the upper completely 3D printed and the bolt carrier 3D printed, and then the apple fritter is the smaller pistol version with a brace, and it's a bufferless design. You are the action of the rifle. It is so dope. So shout out to them.
yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, so Dark, what we'll maybe we should do a 3D printed gun next week. That'd be a good.
I'm not opposed to it.
I'm not opposed to it either. You would probably be carrying a lot of the episode because I am not as versed on 3D guns, 3D printed guns as you are.
You could learn a lot in a week, though. You
I
never
can learn a
know,
lot in a week. Yeah, I can, and I can also learn who the fuck actually made the gun we're trying to talk about, so I don't start a war on Twitter,
bro. What if we did an episode on Glock frames? Everything from Polymer 80 to Lone Wolf, Freedom Wolf to the what's the other one? The Gen 5 one, the just all the
Nomad,
obviously the Nomad, the ST fucking
SCT,
SCT frame.
Capital Armory, Live Free
Yeah.
Armory.
Yeah, Capital, that one's dope. Those shits are like $35, bro. I get mine looks like a Shadow Systems. It's actually pretty
You
cool.
know the Glock store has one, the GS 100 frame, and like it's $129 just for the frame.
Yeah, isn't that the new chassis? Is that the chassis?
No, it's a Glock. Their Glock 9 Gen 3 Glock 19 frame.
Serialized?
Yeah, serialized.
Okay. Yeah, I think and then
I actually reached out to their
the
marketing.
strike.
Yeah, the strike. Yeah.
Strike.
Their marketing manager actually I reached out to them. They emailed me back. I completely forgot to like finish the email back because I'm like they're probably not going to send it to me anyway, or whatever.
You never know. You never know.
But anyway, so guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all for listening. This will be going up on YouTube soon. I think now this week I'll also kind of like put a fire under my ass to get our own little channel on Rumble and YouTube, so we don't have to keep putting on both of our channels. We still can. I'm down for it. I don't care, but it's one destination where everyone can come to, and it's a lot easier for the stream as well. But if you have any questions, please make sure you comment down below and after, so I can peruse the comments and make sure that if we have any questions for the Smith Wesson Sigma, I can try and answer them after. But if you're looking to follow me on any form of social media, you can look at Shooting Gallery On YouTube, I think it's Shooting Gallery 1 on YouTube, and then you can follow me at Shooting Gallery _official on Instagram, and I'm now on HowTube. It's this new platform that I'm kind of trying to get behind for tutorial builds. It's censorship free, and they're warning some firearms creators over there. I have most of my build stuff and
Nice.
clean and lubricate tutorials over there right now. I got like 20 or 30 videos over there. I spent most of my day. It was daunting. But yeah, you can find me also on Twitter/X at the_real_SG1. And that's where I post most of the deals I find or whatever's on my mind of the day. Sometimes I give like, a thought of the day and it's something completely outrageous. But Dark, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, so check me out. My main location of posting atrocity content is YouTube. You can catch me on YouTube at DLD After Dark. I do a live show on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at around 10 p.m., depending on traffic. And also check me out on Rumble. I have a Rumble channel, obviously, here as well. If you're watching, there's 31 people still in there. So you're watching on Rumble. So congratulations. I'm about to hit 200 followers on Rumble, which is like, bro, I did that in like 2 weeks on YouTube. I don't get it, but anyway,
Yeah, I'm at like 250.
nice. You got me beat. I think you jumped in there a little bit before I did, man. I was slacking.
It's all
And
good.
you know what? I was slacking on Rumble, and I should not have been because it's a great place.
I love Rumble. I love it.
Also, Instagram, DLD_after_dark. And then, of course, you do the best thing you could do all day is to go to DLD Hardware, and you'll see that DLD Hardware sells jigs, tools, and other things for the builder, keeping the builder in mind. And every single package that I ship, which now I've got over like 6,500 packages shipped, every single one of them says F the ATF on the package, which is just my dream. This is what I just dreamed of as a kid. And this is my Glock 40 problem solver.
Yeah,
So,
problem solver.
yeah,
It's
it's
actually
actually literally a Glock 40. It's a 10 millimeter.
But that's the thing. It's not optics cut though.
I know. Honestly,
I'm surprised every time I look at a Glock 40. I'm like, oh, it's MOS, and then you're like, no, it's not. I'm like, what are you talking about?
dude, 10 millimeter semi-autos are optic killers, bro. Look how many Holosons have fallen victim to the FN 510 and the 10 millimeter MOS. They just
That's
can't
why
keep
they
'em
have
up.
so many rebates on the FN 510 right now.
Yeah, dude, I sold mine. It's still a dope gun. But man, I still love this though too. So anyway,
But
yeah, check us out.
check us out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week for the PewMongous podcast. As always, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Stay safe, stay shooting.
That I almost did my ending, and I'm like, wait, wrong podcast. Nope, can't do that.
Peace, motherfuckers.
But yeah, peace, motherfuckers. That's how we're gonna end it from now on.